This is the Coolermaster Devastator 3 combo. It comes with a rubber dome gaming keyboard as well as a gaming mouse. Now the mouse is fairly basic, in fact the entire combo is relatively basic and it's certainly more on the budget end of things, coming in at an MSRP of £35 in the UK and likely fairly similar, probably about $40 in the US. Starting off with the keyboards, you can see that I do have the US layouts here, although I do expect that they're going to have UK layouts if you need that here, but nonetheless it is a rubber dome keyboard. It does actually have a few media keys up the top, although I would mention that they do wobble around quite a lot, although they are functional enough, so that's not too much of an issue. There's no software included for either of these peripherals, it is all hardware based, and the RGB lighting is controlled by a single button just to the right of the FN key at the bottom, and that just cycles through the 7 color profiles including off, so you can actually turn the lighting off if you fancy it, or have white, yellow, red, blue, actually a slightly lighter blue, green, and I believe a sort of orange backlighting as well. There is actually an FN key on the right hand side which you can use to lock the left hand side Windows key and a few other mostly lighting based bits of functionality. I don't think that there's much if any macro supports here, and as I mentioned there isn't any software for either the keyboard or the mouse. The typing experience for the keyboard is actually pretty nice. It's rubber dome, so it's kind of what you'd expect. It does have a sort of almost faux tactile feel, as you can feel the rubber dome caving in, which is almost your initial tactile click if you like, but obviously the key doesn't actuate until you completely bottom it out, so it's not quite as nice as, you know, your Cherry MX keyboards and stuff like that, which can be obtained for about £60 if you're going for a Coolermaster one, which is obviously double the price, but do bear in mind that obviously this also includes a mouse, so there's a little bit better value for money. When it comes to gaming on the keyboard, I wasn't blown away, but I wasn't horrified in any manner. There really wasn't too much of an issue, and overall it's you know, it's a rubber dome keyboard. It's kind of what you'd expect. It does feel fairly cheap, and it does feel you know, like there's a few sort of sacrifices you're making for the price that you're paying, but at the same time the actual gaming experience was pretty decent. I would mention, however, that especially due to the sort of slightly cost-saving measures here, it does look like they've kind of gone a little bit minimalist on the rubber pads on the bottom of the keyboard. They also haven't included any rubber pads on the flip-up feet, so if you like having a slightly raised typing position, be prepared for the keyboard to move around quite a lot while you're typing, as that happened to me quite a lot while typing and gaming. Moving on to the mouse, you can see that it's actually quite a flat profile, which does mean that it kind of suits all hand types in both small and large variants, and all the different types of grips, palm and, you know, claw gripping and sort of hybrid grip as well, so that is quite interesting. The side buttons, the ones on the left hand side, are actually kind of slightly forward placed, which means that it can be a little bit awkward to actually use them. They're not in the normal place that they would be on a standard gaming mouse, but at the same time they're actually quite a nice feel. The overall actual switches in the mouse, which I believe are Omrons, are actually quite nice as well, and while the sensor does seem to have a large amount of acceleration, it kind of also looks like it's actually some sort of adaptive DPI. They do say that the mouse has 600, 1200, 1800 and 2400 DPI settings, but since there's no software and the button on the top only controls the LED color, I'm not sure how you're meant to change that. On both the left and the right you do actually have rubber sides, which means that it is a little bit easier to grip, although on the bottom you do only have 4 relatively small pads for sort of glide pads that make it a little bit easier to move. I didn't really have any issues with this, although they do look fairly small and may wear out relatively quickly just due to their size, but other than that I was fairly impressed. The overall gaming experience for me, again, I really didn't feel like I was missing a massive amount. I certainly think that people who are really concerned with doing quick flick shots and stuff like that and want zero acceleration, this is definitely not the mouse for you, but if you're after a budget bundle, and especially one that includes a fairly decent mouse and a relatively decent, if not mechanical, gaming keyboard, then this is actually a pretty good value for money. So what's the takeaway from this? Well, if you're after a relatively budget keyboard and mouse combo, you want something that is RGB, although only 7 colors, and you want a relatively decent gaming mouse and you're not too worried about having you know, non-mechanical keyboards, then this is actually a pretty good value for money for you. There's a few issues with it sliding around and, you know, the overall cheap feeling of it, but overall I am still pretty impressed. Moving on to the scoring, for me I think this has to be a 4.5 for value for money. When it comes to performance, I think I'm going to go with a 4 with a 3.5 for functionality. I'd like to see some software, some macro functionality and perhaps some proper RGB support, but otherwise it is pretty decent for the price tag. Styling is going to be a 4, and for me, TechteamGB score is going to be a 4, and I think a worth money award. It's a fantastic bundle. It is worth your money if you're after a budget, keyboard and mouse, and you can't quite afford a mechanical one, whether it's one of the sort of Amazon brand ones, or whether it's actually something like the Cooler Master, Master Keys Pro M, or even Pro L. So if you want to know any more about this keyboard bundle, I'll leave links to it in the description down below where you can check them out. I'll also leave links to Amazon and Overclockers UK where you can support me by using those links. It genuinely does help me out, so if you enjoyed this video, feel free to also let me know in the comments down below, subscribe and hit the like button. I will leave other videos over here for you to check out, and the subscribe button over there as well. And otherwise, I guess that's kind of it. So I hope you enjoyed it, found it useful and informative. Any questions, let me know in the comments down below and I will try and get back to you as soon as I can. And otherwise, yeah, thank you for watching and we'll see you on the next video.